Hi there, everybody. This would be the Lego set 75257, the Millennium Falcon, based on the movie Rise of Skywalker. And as before with the Millennium Falcon that came out for Force Awakens, I had an interest to see if I could make a little shuttle that would go in this notch here into the mandibles. And the idea would be to make it based similarly to the shuttle in the movie Solo. And we'll start off by showing how that looks. So here would be the shuttle itself. And I'll start off, let's see here, it's got a nice interior. And inside you'll see that there's room for a figure with a modified head or a regular head. And there's some nice little controls. Make it so that the little guy can hopefully steer his shuttle in some fashion, or at least tell it where he wants to go. And then you would close it up. It hinges in, and it has this nice sleek look, all while looking all aged and decrepit to go along with the aged Millennium Falcon. So let's see how that looks when it gets slid in. Put that there, put that on up. You can see that it continues this shape here. It has a very similar look to the style of the one it was in the Lego set that came out for the Solo movie, and of course it's been colored so that it suits the Millennium Falcon from the older years, not when it was brand new. And so there you have the basic look of it. As before, when I set out to do this for the Force Awakens set, I didn't want to have to modify the Millennium Falcon in any way to make this shuttle. So what I did was capitalize on these little slide rails. In the original one, in the one for Force Awakens, it was very easy to do this because these slide rails had exactly one extra tile space in between them, and that allowed you to put a double one of these bricks that would receive those slide rails perfectly, and that made the design very easy to build and very simple. With this being, with them not having that extra width in there, that extra tile height in there, it made it much harder. There wasn't anything, you can't get one of these or two of these on, so you can, to be able to actually mount to it and be able to utilize this. So I've come up with a much different method, and the main thing here is I'm going to have these big void here while maintaining some structural integrity with those panels, and then I have this little notched area here which actually hugs those rails perfectly, and then I made it so there's this little guide on top, and that allows it to rest on these tiles that are on top. So there's slide rails sitting on top that rest on top, and then the actual light fixture here on the jumper just nestles itself in between those two fins perfectly, and that's basically how you're going to get this to sit there and look flush and fit in nicely, and it doesn't wiggle. And so in the end, I think the result came out pretty good, and if you're interested, you can stay tuned and I will take this sucker apart and we'll build it together, and then you'll have a good sense of how to build one. I would upload this to Bricklink, but Bricklink Studio seems to flag absolutely everything now as download, display only, and takes away the download ability. So I'll try to post the actual building instructions, the Bricklink file, to my website, the Farquhar, and that way you can get those building instructions there. All right, let's give this a shot. So you can find that link in the description. So I've done a couple of how to build tutorials on YouTube before, and I thought this time I would try using virtual bricks instead of real ones. I think that this way you'd be able to keep my hands out of the shot, and maybe it'd be a little easier for you to see what it is, how to build it. So basically I have created the entire shuttle in Bricklink's Stud.io software. So I've created these step-by-step instructions, which I'll post to my website, the Farquhar, and this will be, you can download these and then you can step through them if you have Studio.io and Stud.io, and if you don't, you can watch this video, pause as much as you want, and you'll get a good sense of how to build it. So we're going to start off with a 4x16 plate. Done this in dark gray. And then you'll see the difference here now. Hopefully I won't have to keep specifying, but light gray versus the dark bluish gray. This is a a 6x6 tile, a plate, and a 1x4, 1x4, 1x4. This could be a 2x4. It doesn't have to be two 1x4s. And then two of these little vent pieces, grills, and then a 2x4. You can see this 2x4 is hanging over by one. So start with that and then work your way this way, and you'll have this thing hanging off the right amount. Next step. You're going to add in, you can put anything you really want over this 2x4 region, but I started building what I thought was a little cargo fake stuff to be inside. So here is a 2x2 with one stud on it, and then here's two taps. This is where the person's controls will be attached. You're going to add some control wedge here, and then you'll put the two little panels here. You don't have to put these if you don't have them. The interior's up to you. And then I have an upside down placed 2x2 round tile with a hole in it. That fits on that single stud that was there before. This is, like I said, this is just all kind of fake cargo. Next, you're going to add a 2x2 round plate that has a domed bottom. That goes here upside down now, so now the dome is on top, and that allows you to have kind of a, I don't know, a widget, some sort of container, fake thing, something that they could possibly be transporting. Then I have two tiles. These are in dark red, and then a bunch of cheese wedges. So I have this one in trans black. These are in the dark gray, and then here's the two light gray tiles. These are kind of a headrest area, pillow, that kind of a thing. The figure's legs will be going on these four studs, so then his head rests in this region. It's pretty cramped quarters, so this is just kind of in the vein of trying to be comfortable. We're going to add in the two controllers. This is basically a robot arm with a slight bend to it. So it's a robot arm with a slight bend to it, and then a stud with one of those bar attachments. And then you can put the little round tiles, single tiles that have a decoration on them of some sort, fake controls, some sort of gauge, whatever you're interested in. And those attach to those taps. And then this way the figure's hands can kind of rest on top of those. We're going to add a wedge piece, and I'm sorry, the wedge piece hangs over the 2x4 that was there before. It hangs over by one, and then you'll see these two single little top plates. They're floating right now. They're not attached to anything. That's my mistake. But you'll see where they go here. There is a 1x6 on each side, and a single attachment right now, just one stud. It just hangs off, and then that's where those little studs can be attached right here. We're going to start getting a little bit more support, so this will hold a 1x6 on a little better. Here is, these are the 1x2, and I think they're by 2 height panels, and I've got 4 of them on each side. You could get the ones that are 4 length instead of these that are 2 length, and then you'd only have 2 of those on each side. This creates this empty channel where the Millennium Falcon's mandibles rails will glide through, and they won't touch any of this. They're just going to be in this little vacant pocket, and that's just to make it so that the rails, you don't have to alter the rails in any way. You're going to add in 2 little towers, little 1x1 bricks, 2 on top of each other, so it's a total of 4. And then go ahead and throw on the front front wedges. So you got a wing here, a wing there, left and right. These are 3x6s and a 2x4 plate in the middle. Then you get a 2x4 brick wedge on each side, left and right, and then a single stud brick with a hole in it, so a little Technic pinhole on each side. That's where the lift arm system is going to be attached. On the front, you're going to add a bunch of studs. So I've got some studs here. If you don't have singles and a quad, you could put a double here. You could put 3 doubles in a row. So 3 1x2s in a row. It depends on what you got. But that'll help you with your front end. I put 2 plates on, 1x2s, and 1 grill. And then on top of that, I added these ingots. You can add whatever you want. You could put lights. You could put a jumper and then just 1 light. I like the ingot look. I think it kind of looks more like a bumper. That's my preference. And then I added some of these 3x6 fins on top again, and a little 1x4. We're going to cap it off. We're going to start getting a little bit more, once you put these 1x6s on, things will start feeling a little bit more secure. Here's a single tile and another 1x6 tile. You're going to build 2 of these, as it says, 2 of these. So you put these lift arms. These are those half-width lift arms. It's a by 4 with the Technic axles in them. And you'll put these pins where it's half pin, half axle. So you'll need to build 2 of these. Once you get those built, throw them in here. If you don't want to have yellow in it, you can just make them all dark gray or all light gray or whatever color you want. You don't have to have the yellow. I just left it in there because I thought it gave a little bit of color. So those attach to those 1x2 stud, 1x1 bricks with the holes in them. Now you're going to add some plates with some rails on them. So these, you can have them in whatever colors you want. You can have them in all gray, light gray, or all dark gray, or your choice. But these actually rest on top. The Millennium Falcon, as it is from the Rise of Skywalker version, has these little tiles on the interior of those mandibles. So these little rails will just rest on that interior, and that helps the shuttle stay nice and secure. To do the rear end, we with the little engines, we add a 1x6 and then put these 2 things on top. These are those 1x3s with just 2 studs. Next, you're going to create 2 of these little boosters. These you put a single stud plate, one of those plates, a round plate with a little bar sticking out of it, looks like that. And then another single stud plate with a hole in it. This is it's got to have a hole in it. That's important. And then you can put some round 1x1 bricks. I did trans light blue. At that point, attach those to the outer studs of our previous assembly, and then put in 2 more of the little round bricks. You can choose your color. I chose trans blue again. This thing won't attach to anything right away, but here we go. You're going to take a 2x2 and attach it to the top of one of these 1x1 studs with the side stud that's recessed, and then put a little black plate on the bottom of it. This way you've got a hole in the center of that stud, because you need a hole. All of these things on the top here have to have a hole in the center. And that way you can put this 1x6 plate on top of it, and it doesn't sit stud to stud, it's offset a little. So these studs down here are going in the center of those, and they're attaching to those little tiny poles, little pillars on the interior, on the underside of this plate. That gives you this recess, and that's where the actual Millennium Falcon's 2 rails will be gliding through there. So the bottom rail will touch that surface, and the top rail will touch that one. So this is what really holds it in place. Now that you're there, we'll attach the rear end to the back side. Let's start adding some securing pieces. We got a 1x2 tile here and there, and a 1x4. It's going to hold it together. Add some more tiles. Here's a 1x3 on each side, and then a 1x4 tile here, and a 1x3 plates. Sorry. And then I add some 1x6 tiles to the edge here. This now is, you'll feel it now. The whole thing's starting to feel a lot more secure. And we're building up that rear end, because the rear end is thicker than the front end, and that's what gives it that slope when the roof's on. So here's 1x4s, 2 of them. We're going to finish up the lift arm system, so we're just going to get these 1x7 lift arms with I put friction pins in there just so everything's not just all flopping around, and you'll attach those to those things. You might have to kind of wedge these apart and then put them in. You'll get it. You get those 1x2s with the holes in the bottom and attach them, and then to make those a little bit bigger, so there's a bigger surface, we're going to add these 2 more of those round underbellied 2x2 plates that have the curved bottom. Those I kind of refer to them as little staples, because they just sort of hold things together. So add 2 of those, and then on those you're going to attach a 1x2 and then a 2x4, and that gets this thing, that way we can attach the roof to it. I think that you can go out and find a 4x12 plate to put on as a roof. I readily had 2x4s, 2x12s, so I used those. So this is a 2x12s. You'll see here that there's 3 studs on the rear, 1, 2, 3, and then 5 overhanging on the front. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that way you'll know where to put these. Flip this whole assembly on its side, and then you'll see the underside. Over here, you can attach 1x4s and some of these little round discs again. These overhang, so you can attach more to them. This one is just to create the illusion of a screen or something. So the minifigure's face will be right here inside the compartment. So just something for him to look at, or him or her to look at. Pretend it to be a screen or something. On top of those overhanging round plates with the curved bottoms, I put these 2. You might have to put something else here if you don't have this kind, but this is the preferred option. These, I think they're considered modified tiles, not modified plates. All right, you're gonna decorate the roof of your pod. There's a 1x8, and then a 1x6, a 1x2, a 1x8, and a 1x4. If you don't have these exact colors of gray or things like that, you can put whatever you want. This is all just to make it look kind of marbled and make it look a little bit dinged up and older. So I put a vent here and a little 1x2 clear piece. This is sort of in the vein of a window. This actually comes from the Lego version from the Solo Millennium Falcon. You skip a stud, so you got 4 studs here. You skip a stud, and you get the clips. 1 clip, then skip 4 studs, 1 clip. It's quite a bit for that, but there's the decorations for the top, and then we'll continue. You put one of those sloped, the curved slope 2x2 on top of that tile, on top of that clear window plate. And then take 2 of those plates, have a little extending rail, and put them in the rear. And now we're pretty much done. On top of those, you're going to put another one of those little vent pieces, put the bar on it, and then throw in a little red just to add a little bit of color palette to it. So get the little dark red plate tile and stick it there. And that just gives you that kind of gives you a cohesive color palette to go along with the Falcon. So that is the step-by-steps. Let's hope that worked out well for you. So there you have it. That was the step-by-step instructions for the little shuttle for the Rise of Skywalker version of the Millennium Falcon. As before, I showed that this thing kind of I have you can adjust these angles here, so you can make it look a little different. But as I've shown before, you can just slide this thing in between the mandibles, and now the little Millennium Falcon has an extended nose here with the shuttle / escape pad / cargo, whatever it is that it's going to be used for. And what we'll do is pull it back out. I'll just give you a quick another final 360 view of it. You can see I've come up with a rear end that just has some engines. You can make yours look a little different. Fits in that little pocket down there. This side wall is where the rails go through. And you can decorate it how you like. But there's the interior as before. And so just in my video, the instructions, you didn't have, these were just blank circular ones. I'm using one that looks basically like I think this is a piston from some engine, and here is a little dial. So your choice on what decorations you'd like to use. Well, that's basically it. I hope you guys have found it informative or interesting or enjoyed or whatever. If you guys do plan on building this, by all means, have a great time. And if you care to, let me know how it went. I will post the link to the instruction file on my own personal website. I'll put that link in the description. I would put it up on Bricklink, but Bricklink just immediately turns everything into display only. So there's no way to download it after a couple hours on Bricklink, so I'll just put it on my website, and that'll be a little bit easier, I think. Well, you guys have some fun. Take care.